Discover the incredible moment a homeless girl's simple kindness transformed her life forever. Rain drummed relentlessly against the concrete jungle of Chicago, each drop a symphony of chaos. 12-year-old Mia crouched beneath her tattered umbrella, scanning the street vendors for remnants of food she could rescue. Life on the edges shaped her instincts. She learned to see potential in scraps. Whispers of despair echoed around her, yet deep inside a defiance fluttered. Mia believed kindness could bridge any divide. On that glum afternoon, her eyes lingered on Mr. Thompson, the neighborhood's infamous grump. His gnarled hands gripped a battered shopping cart, eyes reflecting the weight of unspoken stories. Others crossed the street, avoiding his penetrating gaze, as if fearing a curse. But Mia, undeterred, felt an urgency to reach him. "Excuse me, sir," she called, her voice steady over the patter of rain. She approached him with her half-eaten sandwich, a meager offering that radiated warmth. To her astonishment, he accepted it, wariness flickering in his eyes. In that moment, a connection sparked between them. As they began exchanging stories, Mia discovered a man drowned in disappointment, dreams of architecture lost to the current of life. Knowing what it felt like to be unheard, she could sense the layers of hurt behind his gruff exterior. With every conversation, she felt pieces of her own past bubbling to the surface, revealing how she longed for validation and the freedom to express her true self. But shadows lurked in the corners of her mind, doubts flickering like candle flames. What about her friends, the street family who relied on her smile during the toughest nights? Leaving them behind seemed like a betrayal, a surrender to the polished world that awaited her. She lingered in despair, gut clenching as she recalled her old home, the chaotic warmth replaced by a suffocating weight of expectations. Would chasing an opportunity mean turning her back on those she loved? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The pivotal moment arrived when Mr. Thompson took her to the art studio, vibrant colors swirling in chaotic harmony. As she painted, each stroke spoke of her journey, her pain, and the hard-fought realization of her spirit's resilience. Suddenly, an opportunity glimmered in the distance. A gallery owner had noticed her work. A public exhibit awaited, a chance to show the world not just her art, but her very essence. Yet, exhilaration turned to anguish. Her heart raced as she faced the sleek gallery doors. There it was, the new life that beckoned for her to abandon the shadows. Mia hesitated, memories of her street companions' laughter and struggles echoing in her mind. The pressure twisted inside her like a storm, so real it hurt. What if she failed? What if they no longer look at her with pride? The city buzzed, but all she could think was about her longing to be both the artist and the girl from the streets. As she clenched her fists, a fragment of a thought pierced through. Could true kindness exist alongside her ambitions? The choice loomed before her. Would she step into this new world with all its exciting potential, or remain entangled in the life that shaped her? With each breath, the weight intensified, leaving her with only one clear reality. Whatever decision she made, it would forge her into someone she barely recognized. Mia's breath hitched in her throat as she stood frozen before the gallery doors, a storm of emotions raking through her. The tangible buzz of the city beyond was nothing compared to the quiet chaos within her. Tentative hope mingled with suffocating fear, creating a volatile cocktail that threatened to spill over. The soft click of the door handle snapped her back to the moment. A cacophony of voices filled the gallery, laughter echoing like distant thunder. Artists mingled, their faces alight with passion and pride. She felt like an intruder in this vibrant world. The very air inside the gallery was laced with ambition and dreams, echoing starkly against her unfinished story. But could she truly redefine her narrative? Mia clenched her fists. Each thought of her street companions added weight to her already burdened heart. Their struggles, their laughter, everything she held dear felt like a tightrope she was about to fall from. Still, that seductive whisper of opportunity beckoned her, promising a life of purpose, even as it threatened betrayal. She pulled her phone from her pocket, staring at the screen, the crack running through the glass, mirroring the cracks in her resolve. A picture from last week's shared meal with her friends blinked up at her, smiles caught in the dim light of the alley. The joy they shared firmly anchored her spirit. Would stepping into this new world as an artist or a success mean leaving them behind? The question gnawed at her relentlessly. Mia breathed deeply, weighing her options as memories collided. She thought of Mr. Thompson's eyes lighting up as she painted, of the way colors spilled onto the canvas, reflecting fractured pieces of her identity. Her moments with him were transformative, feeding her passion in a way the streets never had. Yet, each stroke of paint also deepened her awareness of the precarious balance she walked every day. The gallery owner had seen something in her work, potential beyond just talent. And perhaps deep down, Mia sensed the flicker of a unique capability she had all along, the power to inspire, to evoke emotion, even from the harshest of settings. But was it worth sacrificing the authenticity of her roots? With a sudden surge of resolve, she dashed to the nearest corner of her street, her heart racing. Her friends were the very essence of her art, yet she could not ignore the spark ignited by the gallery's invitation. Inspiration gnawed at her, urging her to create a piece that could unite her world behind a canvas. Home, she whispered to herself, understanding that she could attract that same warmth and community through her artistry. The colors that healed her soul could also honor the struggles of those who had shared her life. Mia clutched her supplies tightly as she turned away from the gallery. Maybe she could break ground in a different way. She would stay true to the girl who once roamed the streets. However, she could also paint her journey on her terms, bringing her world to life through every brushstroke. But doubts aggravated her confidence. What if her message didn't resonate? What if she stripped herself of the very thing she sought in the hope of escape? As tall buildings loomed, shadowing her thoughts, the city felt bigger and more daunting than ever. Each decision carved her destiny, forcing her to confront the antagonist waiting inside her, fear. The notion of failure loomed large, teasing her ambitions. Yet one thing remained certain. She would remain anchored by her past even as she sailed towards something new. The moment was ripe for discovery. A flicker of determination ignited within her. The opportunity was waiting, but so was the haunting reality of remaining unseen. With every heartbeat echoing in her chest, she knew she had to make a choice. The struggle was real, but the journey had only just begun. Today marks the start of something different, she told herself, a new affirmation rising amid the chaos. The canvas beckoned, and as she picked up her brush, she felt a fierce wave of clarity wash over her. As she painted her story, an unexpected visitor arrived, their silhouette framed in the doorway, casting a shadow over her burgeoning resolve. This encounter would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself. "Are you really going to do this, Mia?" The voice cut through her thoughts, shattering her focus while planting seeds of doubt deep in her heart. Mia's hand froze above the canvas, her heart stumbling at the sudden interruption. The shadow in the doorway grew sharper, defining itself as the unmistakable silhouette of Jake, a transient whom she had known for years, a fellow artist in his own right. The creases on his weathered face spoke volumes of hardship, yet his eyes brimmed with a sharpness that belied his circumstances. "What do you mean?" she managed to reply, a mixture of defensiveness and uncertainty weaving through her voice. This was precisely the doubt she had been trying to outrun, And here it was, manifested in the presence of someone who understood the struggle all too well. "Do you really think you can just walk into that world and leave us behind?" Jake's tone was laced with a hint of accusation, but there was a softness underlying his words that tugged at Mia's heart. "You're not just painting, you're telling our stories. If you forget that, what's the point?" She knew the truth in his statement, yet the tension between aspiration and loyalty tangled painfully in her psyche. "But I have a chance to do something more," Mia argued, her voice shaking. "This could change everything." Jake stepped forward, the sunlight catching his features, illuminating the layers of experience etched into his skin. "Change doesn't mean you have to abandon us. Your art is powerful, Mia, because it comes from this." He gestured vaguely to the streets, the life that wrapped around them both like an old and familiar cloak. "Because it speaks truth. The truth is messy, and it should never be whitewashed." Mia felt her resolve falter. Could she truly paint her journey without overshadowing the struggles of those who remained? She had always thought of art as an escape, yet every color she worked with felt tangled intricately with her friends' lives. Tension knotted in her stomach. She wasn't equipped to be an island. "I want to honor you all," Mia whispered, her determination yielding momentarily to fear. "But what if they don't want to hear it? What if this is just another attempt to fit into a world that doesn't care? They already care, Mia. They care through you." Jake's voice was earnest, grounding her within the storm of thoughts brewing in her mind. "You must portray our reality, not just as memories or tales of woe. Show the beauty and resilience, too. If you do this for the right reasons, you'll take your roots with you while you bloom." The way he spoke created a vivid picture in her mind, a vine creeping between cracks, finding sunlight in the most unlikely places. She had envisioned herself rising above her beginnings, yet the thought of disconnecting from those roots felt suffocating. There lay a bittersweet power in the life experiences shared by her friends that had crafted her voice as an artist. "Tell your story, Mia," Jake urged gently. "Your journey has the power to spark change, redefine what we know about ourselves, and connect us all, past, present, and future. You can teach the world about us without leaving us behind. Don't forget who you are." As the words settled, the initial spark of determination shifted within her, feeling deeper and more resilient. The decision wasn't binary: leave her life behind or pursue newfound aspirations. Instead, there was a vast spectrum, a multitude of colors to explore. Mia could begin to integrate her past into a more expansive narrative. In that moment, she resolved she would capture the grid of her streets, but shine a light upon them as well. Perhaps she could aim for something larger, despite the fear still tugging at her roots. "Okay, let's try something different," she said, the corners of her lips curving into a tentative smile. Jake nodded, a flicker of understanding passing between them. "Good. Just remember, the streets are alive in those paintings. Take your brush and let them speak." With renewed clarity, Mia turned back to her canvas. The vision began crystallizing. The warmth of community mingled with the edges of struggle, brought to life through each stroke. Yet, as she glanced back at Jake, she caught a glimpse of uncertainty etched on his face, a reflection of her own internal conflict. "Just know, Mia," he said, his tone growing serious again, "leaving your roots doesn't mean you're forgetting them. It simply means you're creating a bridge that others can cross. Be mindful of how you build it." The echo of his words lingered in her mind as she applied the brush against the canvas. Uncertainty danced into the foreground, but so did the thrill of possibility. She was ready to embrace it all. Just as she leaned into her art, the door creaked open again in a sudden rush, pulling her attention and unraveling her thoughts once more. Waiting outside were two people she had not seen in years, faces painted with nostalgia, yet complex with unspoken histories. A moment that could tip her journey toward an unexpected direction. "Mia!" the louder voice called, leaving her breathless with a mix of excitement and dread. The people from her past had come to find her. Mia's breath caught as she faced the two figures stepping into her cramped studio space. Familiarity wrapped around her like a tight-fitting garment, both comforting and suffocating. The chaotic emotions swirling within her couldn't settle. Years of silence mingled with memories she'd buried deep. "Emery? Lucas?" she asked, her voice strained with disbelief. The faces that had once shared laughter and sorrow in a close-knit circle were now tinged with aging and the weight of their shared past. "Mia, we've missed you!" Emery's bright smile contrasted sharply with the shadows under her eyes, a reminder of the struggles they had all faced. "Thought you had forgotten us," Lucas added, trying to mask his vulnerability with a half-smirk. Mia's heart thudded painfully. The reassurances wrapped around her from Jake's words seemed to dissipate in their presence. They were a living embodiment of the life she had tried to step away from, a life that now felt achingly close yet impossibly distant. "I would never forget you," she replied, the words stumbling from her lips, heavy with guilt and nostalgia. A tangible shift hung in the air, one that echoed the fractures from their past. "More," Emery echoed, her tone light yet probing. "What does that mean, Mia?"
"Just because you have the chance to escape, does that mean we don't matter anymore? I'm trying to find my voice as an artist. I thought if I could enter this world, if you could leave us behind." Emery's candor struck Mia sharply. She felt the familiar inkling of defensiveness swell within her as her past collided with her aspirations. "It's not abandoning you. It's—" Mia hesitated, the words feeling inadequate. "It's about moving forward. I want to show people our stories." "Move forward by forgetting?" Lucas interjected. His voice held the weight of years spent in a system that had never favored them. "You think they really care? What about the beauty of our pain, the truth in our struggles? Just think, Mia, before you swipe your brush across that canvas. Show them the grime. Don't just paint over it." In that tense moment, the voices of her past clashed with her ambitions, and Mia felt the fracture deepen. Their exposure to the harsh realities of life had forged a collective bond that felt heavier than her dreams. The path she envisioned for herself now seemed like a tightrope strung between two worlds. "I want to lift us up, but I don't know how to do it without pushing you away," she admitted, the weight of her internal conflict spilling over into the room, vulnerable and raw. "We don't want you to erase us, Mia," Emery said softly. "When you paint, don't just tell the story of someone escaping. Instead, show them someone that bounces back, still rooted in where they came from. Help them see that resilience is born from struggle." Mia's heart raced as new implications settled in her mind. Moments shared with Jake flashed back, echoing the need for authenticity and honoring her roots. Perhaps they were right. She didn't need to choose. Rather, she could weave her past into something more profound, something that didn't deny her beginnings but embraced them. "I'll try," she responded, the words emerging with newfound conviction. "I want to paint my journey, but I want to paint it with you. I want the world to see every trail we've walked together." Hope flickered in the air, and as Mia moved toward her easel, she felt the tension in her gut transform into a spark. The canvas awaited the strokes of honesty, the colors of her past mingling with the vibrancy of her aspirations. However, before she could pick up her brush, a realization crashed over her like a thunderclap. Could she truly articulate their story without locking the door to her future? As she stood there, the excitement morphed into uncertainty once again, lodging itself firmly in her chest. The question hung suspended, a dare to confront the tension inside her. Was she ready to show her own vulnerabilities while holding their stories with care? The door to growth had swung wide open, but she teetered at the edge. What lay beyond this moment of clarity? Mia took a deep breath, knowing it would take more than paint to bridge the distance she felt.
It was time to chart her path. Just as she gathered her thoughts, a sudden sound echoed outside, a commotion that pulled her attention once more. What was happening outside her studio, and how would it affect her journey? Mia shook off the lingering tension and stepped toward the echoing chaos outside her studio, curiosity urging her forward. As she slipped through the door, the atmosphere inside her studio faded behind her like a shadow. The street bore the unsettling rhythms of humanity. Voices raised, footsteps hurried, laughter and distress intertwining in a chaotic dance. The scene unfolded with vivid intensity. A small crowd had gathered around a girl, no older than 10, who stood boldly in the middle of the street holding an oversized cardboard sign with a simple message, "Help me, help others." Mia's heartbeat quickened as she moved closer, instinctively drawn to the child's earnestness. A few individuals hovered around the girl, their expressions a mix of bemusement and pity. She noticed the small bag slung across the girl's shoulder, as frayed as the edges of her sign. "What do you mean, help others?" someone asked, half-heartedly, more curious than invested. The girl's dark eyes sparkled with a fierce light, igniting a fire in Mia's own spirit. "I have extra sandwiches. I want to share them with people who don't have any." Her voice was steady, resolute, as if she believed her initiative could bend the world towards compassion. Mia's throat tightened. Here was a child simply trying to make a difference in her corner of the world. While her own aspirations felt burdened by complexities and doubts, this girl had stripped her purpose down to an essence so pure: kindness and connection. The crowd began to disperse, some offering change, while others wandered off, uninterested in the girl's intent. But Mia remained, mesmerized. What drove this girl to take such action? Impressed by her tenacity, Mia felt a wave of warmth washing over her. Was this the authenticity she aspired to capture in her art? Suddenly, the girl's gaze drifted toward her, sensing the attention. "Will you help?" Her question hung in the air, bold and unyielding, as if it transcended beyond the immediate moment and struck at the heart of Mia's own struggle. "Absolutely," Mia replied, her voice stronger than it had felt moments before. The words flowed effortlessly, resonating with a deeper truth emerging from within her. Without hesitation, she reached into her bag and pulled out a few spare bills, offering them to the child. A smile broke across the girl's face, illuminating her features. "Thank you," she cheered, as she fumbled to fold the bills into her sign. "You can help by bringing sandwiches if you want." The practicality of the idea struck Mia hard. It was simple yet profound. Sharing her wealth, even in small increments, could spark a chain reaction of goodwill. It became clear this child had transformed her own circumstances into an opportunity for others. A buzz of inspiration ignited inside Mia, igniting the embers of her initial convictions. Rather than abandon her past, she could channel her experiences into something meaningful that inspired her creative journey. October light streamed down, casting shadows and highlighting differently on her thoughts. She envisioned not just painting their stories, but also becoming a part of their truth in action. Each brushstroke could resemble kindness, each canvas an invitation to grow, just like the girl in front of her. "I'll bring sandwiches," Mia asserted, her voice clear, a promise cutting through the haze of doubt. As if to solidify that promise, she felt something within her shift, as if she had just taken the first step toward grounding her artistic identity. But as she reached for her phone to note down a plan, the nagging thought returned. Would she truly be able to share her own vulnerabilities while championing the voices of others? Was this newfound mission just an escape from her internal complexities? Just as she contemplated her next move, a hand clasped her shoulder, pulling her back into the present moment. She turned to find Emery standing behind her, eyes wide with intrigue. "What are you doing?" Mia felt the weight of the moment settle in her chest. The echoes of her past intertwined with the opportunities she had stumbled upon, creating a tapestry on which she could bounce back from fractured roots. Tomorrow loomed heavy with unanswered questions. Would this small act of kindness reveal a path forward, or would it plunge her deeper into the heart of her conflict? Mia looked back at the girl, determination sparking in her heart, knowing that each step forward would demand vulnerability and strength. What she didn't yet realize was how much this girl's simple act would challenge her to confront not just artistic expression, but the very nature of her identity itself. Mia stepped away from the crowd and ushered herself to a coffee shop nearby, a place she'd often frequented to seek solace within the warm embrace of comfortable familiarity. The animated snippets of conversation and clinking of cups morphing into a gentle murmur was a small comfort. Here she could gather her thoughts before plunging into her newfound mission. The barista's voice broke through her reverie, but her mind was already tangled in considerations. As she sipped her bitter coffee, Mia began to grapple with her own hesitations. The girl's simple plea resonated in her mind, challenging her perception of giving. How little was required to act, yet how significant could be the impact of those few gestures. What did she know about outreach? Once she'd attempted to channel emotion into art, creating bold strokes that spoke of her experiences. Yet the pieces that came forth reflected her turmoil rather than offering connection. Was there a different language she needed to learn? Opening her sketchbook, she instinctively began to doodle. The outlines of sandwiches, people connecting, images spun from the evening's inspiration. It felt almost frivolous, a whimsical melody in the face of gravity. But the more she drew, the more she felt a current pulling her toward a purpose she had long obscured beneath layers of self-doubt. Mia flipped to a fresh page, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the blank canvas before her was no longer intimidating but inviting. She wasn't just drawing, she was recalibrating her identity as an artist and a member of something larger than herself. The going was slow, and her confidence reverberated wildly, but each mark connected her more closely to her intentions. Suddenly, a flicker of discomfort coursed through her. The upcoming sandwich initiative implied facing her fears openly. The thought of actually participating brought the specter of her past back, whispering doubts that echoed firmly within her. If she ventured this path, could she authentically share her own scars? Would she be seen as genuine, or simply another girl trying to photograph the struggle from a distance? Just as her thoughts spiraled, Amory slid into the seat across from her, bringing a rush of fresh energy that momentarily dulled her inner conflict. "I don't know what's got you looking so serious, but if I didn't know better, I'd say you're scheming." Mia met Emery's gaze, the buoyancy of their friendship stirring her resolve. "It's this girl. She's collecting sandwiches for the needy, and I want to help, but something about it feels daunting." "Why?" Emery leaned closer, curiosity shining in their eyes. "You're the queen of bold moves. If you want to do something, just do it. Help is help, no matter who you are." Mia considered this. The sincerity in Emery's voice felt like an anchor amidst her swirling thoughts. If she could embrace her own vulnerability, wouldn't that only make her reach further? "The girl showed me how simple kindness could be empowered," Mia murmured, more to herself than to Emery. "Yet here I am, afraid of how it will reflect on me. Am I trying to prove something, or do I genuinely want to act?" A slow smile emerged from Emery, igniting a fire within Mia. "Then stop thinking and start doing. You're an artist, Mia. Bring your canvases, share your story, and meet them where they are." The spark ignited a blaze of motivation within her.
Perhaps it wasn't about arriving at the destination already fortified with answers, but rather allowing her journey to shape her identity, letting vulnerability and authenticity intertwine. She gathered her things, excitement palpable in the air around her. Maybe by giving sandwiches and sharing stories, she could create a bridge between art and life, weaving her past authentically into her newfound purpose. As Mia stepped outside, breathing in the crisp October air, she felt a surge of clarity wash over her, altering her perspective entirely.
The girl's ask transcended a simple act of charity. It was an opportunity to confront her own truths in the light of this significant choice. But as she resolved to face her fears, another question loomed overhead. What would she discover in herself when she stood shoulder to shoulder with those she had once perceived as distant? Would the act of sharing deepen her understanding of both art and self? The clock ticked toward the moment of action. Tomorrow would mark a tangible shift, not just for others, but also for her. It was time to delve deeper into her passions, no longer simply observing, but shaping a reality she wanted to be part of. Amid that determination, a chilling sense of anticipation built inside her. What awaited her was unknown, an exploration of connection and self unlike any she had known before. Would she be strong enough to face the implications of this new frontier? The morning sun poured through the window, illuminating Mia's cluttered desk as she prepared her supplies for the day ahead. The urgency in her heart echoed through the minutes, a pulse feeding her growing eagerness. Sandwiched between moments of pure zest and gnawing anxiety, her day was poised to be a test, a significant leap toward engagement and authenticity. She glanced at her sketchbook, now filled with traces of thought, ideas melded into drawings representing both the people she aimed to help and her own journey toward connection. Each stroke whispered the same query: how would she express her story? Mia stood before the mirror, the reflection revealing more than just her blue eyes or unruly hair. Today, she was determined to be more than the canvas. She was looking to intertwine herself into a larger narrative. But as her fingers brushed against the edges of her canvas bag, she hesitated, the shadows of self-doubt creeping back in. Could she truly illuminate her scars while standing among strangers? Would sharing her potential vulnerabilities diminish her artistic essence? Those doubts had whispered incessantly in her past, cloaking her creativity in hesitation. Still, the flame ignited the previous evening compelled her to challenge the status quo. On her way to where the sandwiches would be handed out, she forced herself to focus on the impending interactions. What stories would unfold around her? What connections might blossom? Each step felt heavier as reminder after reminder of her past failures flickered like an old film reel. Art pieces that fell flat, attempts at reaching out that ended in rejection. This time, however, the stakes felt different. Suddenly, the bustling sounds of the street collided with her internal chaos, snatching her from her spiral of thoughts. Mia's senses came alive. The warmth from vendors shouting their offers beneath colorful awnings, and the laughter of children playing in the distance, buoyed her spirit incrementally. Perhaps this was opportunity, the tapestry of life woven with threads of connection and possibility. She arrived at the designated spot, her heart racing as she placed her bag next to a few other enthusiasts. As she observed, strangers exchanged smiles like currency, no pretense in their expressions. The girl she'd come to support was organizing sandwiches with precision, her focused demeanor echoing Mia's desire for intentionality in her actions. As other volunteers began to come together, Mia felt her own resolve strengthen. She picked up one of her sketches, the depiction of a shared meal sketched beside idyllic figures, a representation of her vision to merge storytelling with compassion. In that moment, she decided to carry her art beyond private contemplation. "Hey, do you mind if I contribute some drawings?" Mia found herself asking the organizing girl as she did her best to combat her unease. The girl, a vibrant creature full of energy, beamed back at her with an enthusiasm that was contagious. Of course, what do you have in mind? Mia glanced around, fueled by the exchange and the smiles forming around her. I'd love to draw the people we meet today. I think it could help share their stories. When we think of sandwiches, we often forget the lives that come with them. Awareness flickered within her. Here, she wasn't merely an observer. She could shape the narrative, bridging her identity as an artist with her commitment to connection. The ice within her cracked, and her determination solidified further with the support surrounding her. Each detail she began to notice in those who arrived became a brushstroke of possibility. With every encounter, she questioned what stories lay behind the eyes before her, like windows into varied experiences formed by hope, resilience, and sometimes despair. The exchanges were deeply enriching. They guided her into conversations about dreams, struggles, and the beauty in daily lives that often went unnoticed. Yet, amid the laughter and shared anecdotes, an unsettling recognition kicked in. Her past wasn't merely a haunting specter, but a source of empowering resilience. With each line drawn and every story shared, Mia began to disentangle herself from the narrative that fear had crafted. What more awaited her in this uncharted territory of connection? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on the pavement, a new realization struck Mia. The transformative journey she had committed to dive into was rippling outward. The world was vast and complex, and here she was, painting her own understanding among the untouched canvas of life. But would mere sketches be enough to weave the deeper truths she desperately wished to uncover? With brush and heart intertwined, she steeled herself for the relentless exploration that awaited her. Little did she know, soon she would face a pivotal moment that would challenge the foundation of her own identity more than she could imagine. The laughter and chatter around Mia dissipated into a distant swirl as she immersed herself in the rhythm of creation. With each person she sketched, a heartbeat of their story pulsed through her pencil, intertwining their lives with hers in a shared experience of vulnerability and resonance. Yet, despite the warmth that surrounded her, the familiar chill of doubt crawled back along her spine. Were these simple sketches enough to capture the weight of their narratives? Could she truly do justice to their stories with just lines and shadows? This uncertainty seethed within her, each breath an oscillation between confidence and trepidation. As she started to work on her first piece, a woman with layered wrinkles and kind eyes, Mia fiddled with her pencil. Would this drawing betray her intent? The woman had spoken about loss and hardship, but she had also laughed about her fierce will to survive, the vibrancy of her spirit shining brighter than the challenges she faced. Capturing this duality felt monumental. "Mia, can you help me with these sandwiches?" A voice broke through her reverie. It was the energetic girl from earlier. "I want to make sure we have enough for everyone today." Mia looked up, her focus snapping away from her page. "Sure," she replied, feeling the call to action ground her. The tactile experience of assembling food, rather than conjuring it from imagination, momentarily rooted her in the present, distracting her from her spiraling thoughts. As they worked side by side, the girl shared her own story, how a personal experience led her to this kind of outreach, an experience Mia could relate to, yet also one that incited pangs of envy. A fire ignited within Mia. Could she ever reveal her own story with such clarity? Was she brave enough to let her past inform her present without being consumed by it? "I've found sharing my story has helped me process it," the girl remarked, as she handed Mia a stack of sandwiches. "You know, everything we experience shapes us, but only if we let it. Don't let doubt stifle your voice." Mia felt a flicker of recognition. Those words held the essence of what she had aspired to do as an artist. Yet her internal critic roared back, questioning whether she had the right to voice while she still felt lost. That scratchy whisper resurfaced. Who was she to take center stage in a collective tapestry when her own threads were frayed? Just as the sun began to dip beneath the horizon, Mia decided to focus on action rather than thought. She began to navigate between her sketches and making sandwiches, allowing her hands to flow freely, expressing her dedication in both mediums.
As evening fell, Mia caught a glimpse of a young girl sitting alone, a hesitant smile crossing her tear-stained face. The girl was clutching a sandwich, looking shyly in Mia's direction, capturing her attention. There was something haunting yet hopeful in the girl's gaze, resonating deeply within Mia. Without thinking, she approached her, carrying a sketchbook. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Leela," the girl replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I draw you?" Mia's question surprised even herself. The act felt like offering both vulnerability and connection, a chance to reveal rather than conceal. Leela nodded, curiosity flickering in her eyes. As Mia began to draw, she felt something shift within her. Leela's small gestures, the way she absent-mindedly played with the hem of her shirt, the flicker of confidence in her gaze, spoke louder than any words. As Leela's likeness formed on the page, Mia felt the shadows of her self-doubt elongate but not consume her. In that moment, she realized that her path echoed beyond mere sketches. It was a call to transform, to challenge the very fabric of her identity. The tender space between artist and subject grew thinner. As the last stroke fell into place, Mia was struck by a revelation. What she had been conceiving was not just a drawing of Leela, it was an invitation for connection, the essence of all that she longed to express. With her heart racing, Mia pondered how this encounter could spiral into something larger than herself. The emotions swirling deep within offered a new wound to explore, a blank canvas ready to be painted for the world to see. Would she dare to reveal more of her journey to connect on a deeper level with those she sought to paint? What other stories awaited her pen? The questions loomed, a tantalizing cliffhanger that lingered in the dusk, hinting at the profound transformations waiting just beyond the horizon. Mia's fingers hesitated over the page, her pencil still resting against the soft texture of the sketchbook. The vibrant strokes she had felt flowing mere moments ago became intertwined with the echoes of Leela's story and her own churning doubts. Drawing the girl was no longer a mere act of artistry. It was becoming a conduit for transformation, not just for Leela, but for Mia herself. She looked up from her drawing to meet Leela's gaze, and the fleeting spark of courage that ignited within her felt almost alien. Mia had been hiding behind layers of uncertainty, but there was something about Leela's unguarded honesty that encouraged her to peel back her own veil. "Why do you look sad?" Mia asked, an unexpected falter in her voice as she set down her pencil. She was surprised at the gentle authority of her words. It felt like an invitation, a chance to build a bridge rather than retreat into herself. Leela shrugged, a flicker of shadows crossing her youthful features. "Sometimes it's hard to be brave." Mia leaned in, intrigued by the bravery of this young girl who appeared so small, yet bore a weight that felt monumental. This was a mirror reflecting back the doubts she had clutched to her heart. Was she brave enough to confront her own fears, enough to portray these moments for the world to see? As the evening deepened, Mia found herself recounting pieces of her own story, the losses, the moments that had paralyzed her creativity, the quest for acceptance she had grappled with since childhood. Lila listened, her eyes wide, absorbing every word. "This is like your art, isn't it?" Lila whispered. "Don't you feel lighter when you share it?" Mia suddenly understood the connection between vulnerability and strength. Sharing her past didn't diminish her, instead, it illuminated it. In that moment, it became clear that her true struggle lay not in the act of drawing, but in embracing the stories that composed her, just as the stories of those around her shaped who they were. "I don't know if I could ever share my art beyond this sketchbook," Mia admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "What if they don't understand?" "What if they do?" Lila challenged, a hint of defiance breaking through the uncertainty in her eyes. "Don't you owe it to yourself to try?" The weight of Lila's question pressed against Mia's chest, awakening something she thought long buried. Did she owe it to herself?
Relentless self-examination lit a fire within her, shading her doubts with purpose. She had spent so long trapped in the shadows, but now she yearned to expose her inner realm, to pull back the curtain of her soul and allow others to witness her journey. Mia turned back to her sketch, scrutinizing the lines, aware now of the emotion that pulsed within her, the fear, the hope, the refusal to remain hidden. As she recommenced drawing Lila, she poured a renewed vigor into every line. This was more than simple artistry. It was a declaration of intent, an act of bravery. Yet, as the evening wore on, a sense of impending urgency clawed at her heart. Did she possess the courage to take her art beyond these fleeting moments? Would she chase the path illuminated by Lila to claim her narrative in this world, stepping forward into the unknown without the safety of retreat? The questions tumbled through her mind, igniting a sense of urgency. A call to expand her horizons loomed large, yet shadowed by the specter of past failures. As she finished Lila's likeness, Mia set her pencil down and caught a glimmer of resolve in her own reflection in the polished surface of the sketchbook, flickering like a flame, bright and hesitant. What awaited her on the other side of this journey? The contours of her anxiety merged with excitement, paving the way for a leap she knew she must take. As the last rays of sun sank below the horizon, an enticing whisper stirred her thoughts. The moment of truth was at hand. Would she dare to expose her art and, more profoundly, herself, to those who could both cherish and challenge her? In that charged silence, Mia realized she could no longer hide behind her doubts. She had to step into the light, wherever that might lead. In the soft amber glow of the streetlights, Mia stood as the last few volunteers began to disperse, the echoes of laughter and shared stories fading into the night. The day's vibrant tapestry of connection had shifted something deep within her. The sketches she'd created, each capture a blend of humanity and resilience, spurred a metamorphosis she hadn't anticipated. Each pencil stroke was like unlocking another door to her identity, revealing the artist she longed to be. She glanced at Lila, still clutching her half-eaten sandwich, eyes bright with hope. "Can I draw you again tomorrow?" Mia asked, feeling a surge of excitement at the potential of their collaboration. Lila nodded emphatically, her smile contagious. At that moment, Mia felt a rush of clarity. She was ready to step into her role as both an artist and storyteller. As the sun returned the next morning, casting a brilliant light over the streets, Mia resolved to integrate all she had learned. She gathered her sketchbook, paints, and sandwiches, determined to weave her art into the fabric of her community. Today was about more than just creating. It was about sharing the truth of their experiences and fostering connection. The bittersweet ache of her past loomed near, yet Mia felt a newfound conviction. Her roots didn't anchor her down, they grounded her. Her past was an integral part of her narrative. It was the catalyst to this transformation. As she walked toward her gathering point, the faces of her friends from the streets flashed through her mind. Each laughter, each tear, a brushstroke banishing her doubt. When she arrived, a small group awaited her, embodying the spirit of their shared struggles and triumphs. Without hesitation, Mia began handing out sandwiches, while also inviting them to share their stories. With every bite, narratives unfolded, stories that were raw and unfiltered. People spoke not just of their hunger, but the hunger for understanding, for connection, for dreams that still flickered despite adversity. "Can you capture this?" one man asked, gesturing to the crowd, a bold smile etched across his face. Mia's heart swelled, inspiration flowed through her veins. "Yes," she replied, determination coloring her voice. She set up her easel in a circle, inviting everyone to lend their ideas, their truths. Each story became an essential ingredient of the collaborative artwork she envisioned. They would create not just a piece, but a reflection of their shared humanity.
As the sketches flowed, Mia felt more than an artist. She was part of a resilient tapestry weaving together the bonds formed through hardship and celebration. She captured their joys, their sorrows, and the laughter that mingled with tears. This was true storytelling, honoring her past while creating a bridge to the future. By the end of the day, Mia stood before a mural that pulsated with emotion, a vibrant fusion of stories told through vivid colors, each corner reflecting another triumph of spirit.
It wasn't just her art, it was their art, a celebration of community, a reclamation of their narratives. When they unveiled the mural, gasps echoed, and laughter erupted, tightening the bonds among them. Recognition cascaded through the group, an acknowledgement not just of artistry, but of the profound connection fostered by shared experiences. They had transformed a spectrum of raw feelings into a vivid display of collective resilience born from kindness and compassion. Mia breathed deeply, overwhelmed with satisfaction. She had proven to herself that she could embrace her journey while uplifting others. Art was no longer an escape. It was a vehicle for genuine expression, a tool of empowerment for both herself and her community. Here, her spirit soared, solidified by the recognition of her competence and the realization that her narrative was forever intertwined with those she loved. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and purple, Mia felt the massive burden of doubt lift. She was ready to embrace her future, confident in her ability to share her voice. She had not only achieved her dreams, but had cultivated a community, a thriving ecosystem of support amidst the chaos. And as she packed her supplies, she felt the compelling urge to share her journey with the world beyond her sketches. "Tomorrow, I'll show everyone," she declared, her voice resolute and filled with purpose. "My story isn't just mine, it's ours." In the quiet of the dusk, Mia stepped forward into an exhilarating future where authenticity and artistry intertwined, ready to change not just her life, but the lives of those around her through every brushstroke of hope she would create. Now, dear viewer, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every interaction makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about Mia's journey and what you believe awaits her next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is essential in sharing the power of personal overcoming stories.